Hello, welcome back to the Business of Happiness podcast. Hi guys, I'm your host, Dr. Tarryn MacCarthy, and today is going to be a phenomenal day. Today's episode is all about coming back home to you. I have heard over and over and over again from women in dentistry and in greater healthcare that you get to a point where you turn around and realize, I feel so disconnected from myself. That feeling of being disconnected from yourself can feel so much more wounding, spiritually wounding than we realize, especially when we try to ignore it for decades at a time. That feeling of not feeling like you're quite home, like you're living a life that maybe you didn't choose, or maybe doesn't feel very purposeful, or maybe just feels not true to you, who you are. And I think we seek so often to find, what is it about this situation that I just feel disconnected from myself? It's often hard to put into words, isn't it? I've been trying to put this into words in the book that I'm writing, and it's really remarkably challenging to put that sentiment. I remember when I was really at one of my really low depths of emotional, I wouldn't say necessarily depression, but definitely intense sadness. And maybe it could be defined as depression. I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't happy. I was just going through the motions every day. I was definitely not sleeping or eating well. So maybe I might have been diagnosed with depression at the time. And I remember looking in the mirror and not recognizing the person I was looking at. It was almost like I was looking through her, or I was looking at her makeup or her hair, or looking past her. But I most certainly didn't recognize the woman there. And I know that at the time, if you'd asked me, I definitely would have said I didn't like her. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I was really trying to change her into anything other than what she was at the time. And a big part of me didn't know who that was. That feeling of being disconnected from myself. I was actually doing a really good job in the office at that time. Things were really progressing. Things were humming. My family was fairly stable at the time. Definitely was not in a deeply loving relationship with my husband at the time. That was not at all what we were experiencing. And I was definitely not in a connected relationship with my kids. But on the surface, everyone was doing okay. And this feeling of disconnection from others was really just an example of something much deeper, which was a disconnection from myself. There are so many ways that we can find our way back home. There are ways that'll work for me, ways that will work for you. And what I thought in this episode I would bring is one suggestion, something that was a part of my journey, for sure. Something that really supported me in discovering myself. And it's something I come back to over and over again, especially when I'm feeling lost or exhausted, like I'm back on that treadmill of overdoing. Because let's face it, even when we heal that wound of overgiving, people pleasing, overdoing, overachieving, it's still in our DNA a little bit. And it might come back and resurface. And this is something that I've leaned on over time to return back to me. And that is reaching back towards creativity. What I know to be true about women in dentistry is you are very creative. We were drawn to this profession for many reasons, and one that we often forget to support, to nurture, is that deep sense of creativity. Whether it was literally sculpting or painting or drawing or singing or performing, perhaps it was writing, journaling, poetry. Perhaps it was creativity in building businesses and coming up with creative ideas, or even arts and crafts. Marketing can be creative. Creating new systems and processes in your office can be a creative pursuit. But whatever it is, I'd like you just for a moment identify one or two for you. For me, I was a sculpture minor in college. So that has always been a part of my journey. Always been a part. But there's so many other avenues I've flirted with over time. I love writing. I love poetry. I love writing and creating poetry. I love being on stage and being creative with my body and with my expressions and with my voice. I also love the creativity of launching and dreaming up new businesses and ways to serve and support people in the world, to make a difference in this world. I've also been known to do sewing and knitting and painting and jewelry making. I mean, the list goes on. And I think within each of us, there is this bubbling of a need to create. I mean, so many of us are mothers who've literally created whole humans in our bodies. And I just want to pause for a moment to remind you of who you are. You are inherently a creator. Just look back over your life for a moment and hold an awareness for the creations that you have given life to. Maybe it was a business. Maybe it was a dental practice. Maybe it was another business. Maybe it was giving life to a relationship, creating spaces, designing spaces. I know a dentist friend of mine who is phenomenal with interior design. I mean, she has such an eye for it. I have another friend who's phenomenal with attire, like dressing, with clothing. That is a gene that I did not develop. And man, is she good at it, putting outfits together. Whatever it is, I want you to just acknowledge that part of you. And if nothing else, let this episode be permission to start leaning into your creativity once again. Let's talk about why this works. Why is creativity such a phenomenal resource for rediscovering yourself and your happiness in dentistry? We're still on the same theme here, but how is it a directional compass of coming back home to you? Because when you can rediscover yourself in the work that you do, the games change. It's when we're so disconnected from who we are that we feel like we're living this weird, altered life, this life outside of ourselves. But realizing and identifying how to walk back into yourself through creativity is enormously powerful. And from a psychological and a spiritual perspective, it makes a lot of sense. Number one, creativity allows a sense of play. And actually, that's a really big component of creativity. And I know this is a part that many of us in dentistry struggle with is, can we be in a creative pursuit that doesn't have a need for a specific outcome, that doesn't have a required for a perfect finish? And trust me, some of that is really enjoyable. I love when I'm throwing pots on the wheel. I really like that perfect finish on the side of a pot where it's nice and smooth. And I will spend so much time getting that, even though I'm going to put glaze on top of it, no one's ever going to see that perfect finish, that smooth finish on the outside of a pot. That's really rewarding for me. So there are aspects of creativity that can be so enjoyable in terms of attention to detail. But what I'm talking about is allowing yourself to dive into something creative without needing a specific, designed, controlled outcome. Because now we start losing creativity. Whenever we incorporate control, we start stripping away the possibility of creation and birthing something new and beautiful and surprising and awe-inspiring. Those can only come from the unknown. And this is why creativity is such a great pursuit for rediscovering ourselves, because it reminds us that when we let go of the need to know the outcome, something beautiful arises. And this metaphor gets translated into our career paths and into our journey in dentistry. We're so busy trying to control the outcome that we forget that when we're birthing something, we don't have control. And relinquishing that control allows for something new. The other reason why creative pursuits is so precious in taking a journey back to you, to rediscovering your happiness in dentistry and in life, is that it requires you to carve out time and honor space and time for you. When we're doing something creative, it's just you. It's just you and the paintbrush. It's just you and the journal. It's just you and the clothing. And it's a very important moment to honor yourself and say, this time is for me. This is my time. What an important exercise to practice as a people pleaser, as someone who's constantly doing something for everyone else and not taking care of you. And often it's a little foray into better self-care when we can do it through the lens of creativity. So what does that look like? Maybe it looks like reigniting that spark that you once had. Maybe you did photography in high school and you really loved it. And now you can carve out some space and time and say, okay, Thursday afternoon, Saturday afternoon, I'm letting the kids know, my husband know, my team know, I am going out into nature looking for things to photograph and really allowing yourself to put the boundaries around that time. It is your sacred time for creativity. It's a great practice to get back into doing something just for you. The other reason why creativity is such a great pathway home is there can be levity in it. There can be play in it. And we get so hung up on needing to do and accomplish and, give and have things that we can check off on the checklist at the end of the day. We forget about the importance of play. And I've talked about this so often in the podcast. And play can be really uncomfortable for us. I know it was enormously uncomfortable for me as a young mother. I had a really hard time playing with my kids, even with my team in the office. I would create opportunities for us to, team building exercises, but they were always around some kind of a function or a purpose. Playing with them felt very awkward and uncomfortable. And the reason why is because it was uncomfortable for me to allow myself to play. My nervous system was not used to it. Our vacations looked like, achievements or exploring, but playing felt very difficult for me. And creativity was another way that I was able to lean into play. Playing, whether it be with a paintbrush or a piece of clay, or just allowing myself to experience not taking something so seriously. Such an important lesson of not taking yourself so seriously. And there's a part of when you're in the middle of some creative pursuit that your stresses seem to kind of settle to the bottom like silt in water. Maybe those stresses had percolated up to the top and you thought, oh my gosh, this is such a big deal. I'm so worried about this. Maybe it's something around a team member and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I can't stop thinking about it. And when you're in the middle of this creative pursuit, it kind of drifts down to the bottom and puts it back into perspective. Isn't that so interesting? I was making such a big deal out of this stressor. And now I see it kind of fades away. And what you even realize is after doing something creative for, if you dare, a few hours, the problems don't seem to follow you. We realize that we are the source of problem creation. Isn't that interesting? This happened to me the other day. I was put aside some time to throw some pots on the wheel. And I was there for a good 3 hours because, if any of you ever do any pottery, once you get in there, it's a couple hour pursuit. You can't just do something in 30 minutes. For me, that's true for anything, for writing, for painting. It's really a couple hour pursuit. And right before I started, I checked my email, checked in with my team. I had a couple of projects going and I thought, okay, I'm going to put this down. Here's my boundary I'm creating for myself. I'm not going to look at it. And I'll just be okay with the end of the 3 hours addressing all the things that came up while I was playing. And wouldn't you know, when I went back, there wasn't one. Not even one new email came in. And I was anticipating being inundated with emails and tasks and problems. I realized, oh, wow, that's my perception. I'm creating this in my own mind. And really, when I can just give myself a chance to step away, truly step away, I realized it's not as serious as I thought. It allowed that stress of problems to just drift down like silt to the bottom of water. And I really felt so great afterwards. The other great thing about creativity is it's a phenomenal way for self-expression. especially, and maybe this is you, if you have been self-suppressing for a long time. And maybe you're not a woman who hides. Maybe you are. And maybe you're not a woman who doesn't speak up for herself. And maybe you are. But either way, we sometimes self-suppress selectively. I'm not going to say this because it's going to cause a big issue. I'm not going to tell her about this because XYZ. Or I'm not going to feel a certain way because I don't have time to. Creativity allows us a room and a space and a safety for self-expression, whatever that is, to allow yourself to be seen and heard by you, because that's the most important thing. Even more important than having anyone else see and hear you, most importantly, is giving yourself permission to be seen and heard. So it creates that avenue, a place for you to allow yourself to be seen and heard through your creativity. It creates a space for self-expression. And what a beautiful pathway back to you. It gives you the space and time to start being honest with yourself, because maybe you haven't been for a while. Maybe you haven't given yourself that chance to really think, what am I feeling right now? What really matters to me right now? What's really on my mind right now? Beyond just the knee-jerk reactions of the stresses in my life, what is the bigger story that's happening, the bigger narrative? And when we allow ourselves that resource in creativity, we start to come back home to seeing ourselves. There's also a part of doing something creative that fuels self-worth and self-confidence. Number one, it's permission. You're giving yourself permission to do something just for you. And then the outcome, good or bad, whether it was a complete flop or a beautiful picture came out of it, there's an honoring that you get to do there. And this is very important in your creative process. And it's actually very important in dentistry and leadership as well. Remembering to celebrate yourself, no matter what the outcome. You know, in pottery the other day, I'd given myself these 3 hours. I was working with a new type of clay, one that has a little more grit in it. And it was new to me. So every pot I threw was a failure. I walked away that day after 3 hours with nothing. I didn't have a single pot. I didn't have anything to put in the kiln. I had nothing. I had nothing to show for it. And I still took the time to honor myself for practicing, because I know that that creative pursuit is now going to show up next time for me. There's going to be a muscle memory for me. There's going to be a learning for me. Now it won't be the first time I'm working with this clay. It'll be something new. And by the way, I learned something. I learned that I was adding too much water to this one. So isn't that so interesting? I still came away with a win, recognizing the win and then celebrating it, no matter what the outcome. Well, this was a flop, but let me tell you, I got some great lessons. Maybe it's, I wanted so badly for this to be perfect, and it's not perfect. And let this be my lesson, is that nothing in life is perfect. I invite you to, whatever it is that you do, find the lesson in it for you. You don't need permission. You don't need somebody to tell you what the lesson is. You get to draw the lesson from it. And in our creative pursuits, there's nothing more intimate than you walking through the process and then you learning something from it. So I hope that this is a support for you. Let this just be your permission. Maybe there's been something that's been brewing in you for a while, saying, I really need to get back to photography. I really need to get back to piano. I really need to get back to, I was thinking about learning how to play the hand drum, and now I really want to do it. It's sparking that curiosity again. Let this episode be your permission, and know that it is a phenomenal tool and practice, not just for your greater happiness and for leadership for sure, but also coming home to yourself. This is a self-care practice of reconnecting with who you are, of loving yourself again, of rekindling that relationship with yourself, which honestly, guys, is very possibly the most important relationship in your entire life, the one you have with you. So choose to play a little bit. Choose to give her an outlet for creativity and remind her that she's so much more than just a dentist, just an owner of a business, just a mom. There's so many aspects and facets to who you are, and they're beautiful. And celebrating that is what rekindles that sense of self-worth, self-value, self-confidence. So what will it be? Number one, choose something. You can't make a mistake. Pick something that's just been burning in the back of your mind. Let it just be one thing. Take a baby step, because sometimes I've done this before too. I think of 10 things and then the list is so big that I don't even get started. So just choose one. What is it going to be? And can you find space and time? Put it on your calendar, because we all know if it doesn't sit on your calendar, it's not going to happen. You're going to need to find a babysitter. You're going to need to let people in the world know who think that you're going to show up for something, that this is my time. So put it on your calendar. What is it going to be? And then get excited. Get excited about this beautiful quiet time. And maybe you pour yourself a great cup of tea, or you burn a delicious scented candle, or you turn on some phenomenal music and really invite yourself to enjoy and luxuriate in this time. This is just time for you. And when you've completed this moment in time of creativity, of focused creativity, celebrate yourself, honor yourself. Oh, thank you, Tarryn. Thank you, body. Thank you, creative mind. Thank you, creative spirit and soul. This was fun, and I promise I'll be back soon. And just notice how it starts to turn everything around for you, how honoring that beautiful creative space on a weekly basis, if you dare, can actually be a beautiful path back home to you. I honor you, my friends. Just by showing up to this episode, just by listening to this episode, it tells me how deeply you care. It tells me how deeply you desire to feel happiness and fulfillment and freedom. And I just want to say to you that that's not a small thing, that intention. The intention of wanting to feel good because you recognize that it will actually allow you to do good is huge. So I'd love to hear. Let me know. What is the creative process that you have embarked on? Let me know. Send me an email. I'd love to celebrate you. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Business of Happiness podcast. If this episode brought you new perspective and value, I invite you to subscribe so that you catch all upcoming episodes, and leave us a review. And if you know of a friend or colleague who could benefit from this perspective, share this episode with them and empower their day. For more information about the Business of Happiness and the Radical Happiness for Practitioners course, find me on www.thebizofhappiness.com. See you there.